Okay, guys, let's look at this first example. Like I said, it obviously doesn't have brackets on both sides, right? We have brackets just on the one side. And what's also nice about this question is that we also don't have variables on both sides, right? We have an x on both sides, but not on the other side. Now, guys, we have done one like this, just kind of in between other questions. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all fine with how to do this. And there are actually two ways. All right, so I will write out both for you. The first method, which is what I would probably do because it is a bit shorter, is you can just see. Remember when we're doing an equation, we're doing BODMAS backwards, right? So the B for brackets, which we normally do first when we are simplifying, we're going to do brackets last. So what I want you to see is that this 3 in front of the brackets, we actually multiply the whole bracket by 3. Do we agree with that? If the 3 is just written in front of the bracket with no sign in between them, that means that I'm multiplying the bracket by 3. So that's what I would do in this case, is I would just get rid of that 3 first. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? Dividing by 3. So I'm going to have my x plus 2, which is the bracket, which is left over. Right? When I get rid of that 3, the bracket is left over. Now I'm going to say 12 divided by 3. Or 12 over 3, if you prefer. Writing it like that. So what is that, guys? What's 12 divided by 3? 4. Now, what is the opposite of adding 2? Subtracting 2. So I'm going to say x is equal to 4 minus 2. So x is going to be equal to 2. Okay, so that is one way in which you could do this question, guys. If you want to, you can actually get rid of the brackets first by multiplying the 3 into the bracket. Okay, some of you might prefer doing it like that. It's perfectly fine. You will remember how to multiply a number into a bracket. You have to multiply by every term in the bracket. Okay, so we're going to say 3 times x is what? 3x, thank you. Then we're going to say 3 times positive 2 is positive 6. And that is then equal to 12. Sorry, sorry. All right, then what's the opposite of adding 6? Minus 6, subtracting 6. All right, so we have a 3x here. Now we're going to say 12 minus 6, which is what? What's 12 minus 6? 6 minus 12 would be negative. No problem. It's 6. Okay. Now what am I doing with this 3 here? I have to divide. Okay, I'm timesing at the moment. If I get rid of it, I have to divide by 3. So I'm going to say x is 6 divided by 3. So x is also 2 in that case. All right, so it's one more step, guys. But if that makes sense to you, if you prefer, then do it like that. Okay, so you have 2 options. I'm going to go through it again. You're going to do the next one on your own. First option is divide by the number that's in front of the brackets first. And then, when you are left with just the bracket, reaching out, then you get rid of that plus 2 by doing the opposite operation. Second option is multiply the number in front of the brackets into the brackets, and then you do all your opposite operations. Useful? Do it step by step like I showed you. You're either going to do this method, where you move the negative 6 first, or that method where you multiply it. Okay. So do it step by step, please, guys. The second one you're doing on your own. Solve for x then. Okay, all done? Right, if you're not done yet, carry on and then look at the answer when you finish. What was yes. It would actually be a 2 mark. What is going on? What's happening? Okay? Alright, that's enough. Let me go through it. It sounds like I should go through it. Then take a look here. Guys, what number is in front of this bracket? -6. Is there a sign in between the -6 and the bracket? Is there one at present? I know that there is an operation, but did they write a sign in between? No. So that means that it's times. I don't know, did some of you maybe think it was -6? So you have to add 6 on the other side. Alright, that's fine. It's a common mistake. You are again multiplying this bracket by -6. So on the other side, you're going to have to divide by negative. 8 divided by -6 is -3. Now, what is the opposite of adding 1? Subtracting 1. So -3 minus 1 is -4. Okay, if you did it the other method or using the other method, you would say -6 times x is -6x, and -6 times +1 is -6, and that is equal to 18. Then you're going to say the opposite of subtracting 6 is adding 6. Because 18 plus 6 is 24. And now here again, I'm multiplying x by -6, so I have to divide by -6 on the other side. So 24 divided by -6 is -2. Okay, just check where you went wrong, guys. No, I'm going to do it with you guys. Write down number 3, please. I'm going to do this one with you. Do we now notice that we have a bracket on the one side, but we have x's on both sides? Right? Do you guys see that? So that whenever that happens, let me write on the side. When you have, and it's the same if you have brackets on both sides. So I'm going to say brackets / variables on both sides. Then, unfortunately, you don't have a choice in which method to use. Then you're going to have to multiply your brackets out. Okay, you can't decide between dividing first or multiplying out. Then you're going to have to multiply out. So then multiply out all brackets. In this case, we just have one set of brackets, but in the next one, we'll see we're going to have more. Multiply out all brackets first. Alex, are you something like that? I didn't hear from you. No, don't comment on the next week. We'll take it off. Alright, so guys, here, like I said, we can't, because if you now want to divide by 4, you're going to have to divide 5x and 13 by 4. That's not a good idea, right? Because what's 5x divided by 4? 5x over 4. All right, that's not nice to work with. And 13 divided by 4, well, negative 4 actually is going to be 13 over negative 4. Neither of those two terms will be nice to work with. All right, so we're going to have to multiply this bracket out. So the negative 4 is going to be multiplied by x and by 2. So we're going to keep what we have on the left-hand side, guys. You need to just keep rewriting that. So I hope you've been doing that correctly. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Now you guys see that this is like the questions you did for homework for today. Right? What's the opposite of adding 13? Subtracting 13. So I have 5x equal to, I have my negative 4x and my minus 8. And now I must subtract 13. Again, you don't have to write this line down. You can do it in your head. But if you want to write it down, there's no problem with that. So we have 5x equal to negative 4x. And what's negative 8 minus 13? Negative 21. Good. Okay, what about this x over here, the negative 4x? I don't want it on this side, so I need to say what's the opposite of subtracting 4x? Adding 4x. So I'm going to say 5x plus 4x, and that is now going to be equal to negative 21. Don't make the mistake that I made earlier, right? I left out my minus. If it's a negative there, a minus, a number, you have to put that negative. Okay, what's 5x plus 4x? 9x. That is equal to negative 21. Now, guys, we're going to have to divide by 9. Does 9 go exactly into 21? No, it doesn't, okay? So that means that my answer needs to be written as a fraction. So you have a negative 21 on that side, you have to divide it by 9. So that's why the 9 is going at the bottom. You're dividing by. Is that simplest form? What number goes into 21 and 9? 3. Good. So divide by 3, divide by 3. So my x value is actually negative 7 over 3. Put that minus in front of a whole fraction, right? It's fine if for this line, if you write it as negative 21 over 9. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, number 4 is over there. I've written it out so long. Brackets on both sides. Right? So we have to multiply both those brackets out. I'm going to do that first step with you, then you're going to do the rest on your own. What number is this actually, guys? It's just a minus. Negative 1. Good. So that must go into that bracket. I must multiply it by both terms. Next one, negative 2. That must be multiplied by both terms. So negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 9 is negative 9. On the other side, negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And negative 2 times negative x is positive 2x. And now please do the rest of this question on your own. It's just like the ones that we marked up for homework. You're going to move the number, we'll do the opposite of the number, and then do the opposite of the 2x, and then get your answer. You can do 5 as well if you've done this one before. Yeah. Here. Okay. And if you're done with number 4, you can move on to number 5 so long. I just want to give everyone a chance to finish 4 before we look at it. Okay, let's look at the answer to number 4. Here we go. 1/3. What type of thing? Can I tell you? Okay, let's check. I will find figure out. All right, say 9. We'll write 9. Add 9. Let's make the wrong. Okay. I'm going to be learned from our mistakes. Not a problem. Okay. Okay, so what's -10 plus 9? -1. That's the first thing that you actually have to calculate. Okay. Now just make sure that here, guys, the opposite of adding to it is subtracting to it. And you had a -1. Now -x minus 2x is -3x. That might be where some of you went wrong. Just practice, don't stress. Alright, so -3x is equal to -1, yes? And now we're going to have to divide by -3. But again, guys, does 3 go exactly into 1? No. So you have to write it in fraction form. You're going to say -1 divided by -3, because that's the number that's in front of x. You always have to divide by that number. Now, what's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. Now, guys, in terms of marks, you will get a mark for this line. So for actually multiplying your brackets out correctly, you get 1 mark. Maybe 2 marks if you're feeling generous. It depends on who's taking the test. The next mark will be for getting to -1 here. So guys, if you mess up over here, you can still get 2 marks for what you've done before that. Okay. Then your third mark will be for this line, so for getting that -3x. And your fourth mark is for 1/3. Okay, do number 5 quickly. On your own. I haven't done any. Just do it quickly. Yeah, you're in high school now, eh? Have you all done it number 5 already? Oh wow, okay. And Ryan, yes, you are correct. Yeah. What is that? 2 times 3. Yeah. Wait for wait for Okay, can we take a look? Okay, not you. Okay, okay. That one thing that I'm a bit nervous about is just that you're not writing it down correctly. That's normally why I like giving you class tests so that I can actually see, because I think many of you are understanding the concept, right? You're doing opposite operations to get rid of stuff. But I'm just worried that you're not writing it out. So please, guys, you have to write it down exactly like I'm writing. Can't put like an X right at the top and then do everything equal to the X and all sorts of funny things. You are also not supposed to put an equal in front of each line. That's another thing. So if you have been doing that, you mustn't. Right? I mean, like this kind of. You're not allowed to do this. Okay, I've seen that also. Okay, you mustn't put an equal in front of each line. There is your equal symbol. Okay, so if you've been doing that, just make sure that you draw lines through there that you stop it. Okay, that kind of I just think you're doing the right thing with the action. Okay, let's take a look. X is equal to 1. Well done. Most of you did it. Okay. All right. Let's go through it step by step, please. Listen. 2, you need to multiply into that bracket. 2 times 3 is 6x and 2 times 2 is 4. On the other side, guys, please, you need to multiply the brackets out before you start doing opposite operations. Don't mix the 2 steps up because you're trying to save time. You're going to get confused. Okay, so first multiply out the brackets. So negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Okay. Now we need to look at what we don't want here. We don't want these 2 numbers. So the opposite of adding 4 is subtracting 4. The opposite of subtracting 5 is adding 5. Make sure that you're doing the opposite, guys. It's a very common mistake to see, oh, here's a plus 4, so now I'm going to plus 4 on that side. Okay, that's wrong. You always have to do the opposite operation on the other side. Now let's look at all these numbers, guys. Do you see there's so many numbers here that we can add? 1 plus 5 is 6. Minus 4 is 2. Plus 5 is 7. Perfect. That is fine. Listen up. If you first simplify this, like I said earlier, 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Okay, you could have done that first, and then you would have just had to add 1 on the other side. Perfect. All right, what about this negative x? I'm subtracting x here. Okay, what's the opposite of subtracting x? Adding x. 6x plus x is 7x. And now you need to divide by the number in front of x, 7. So that gives you an answer of 1. Okay, worksheet. How many marks? A mark multiplied out. A mark for that. Okay, guys, we didn't manage to get to the word sums yet in this lesson. We'll do it tomorrow. So you are going to keep up the first section of this worksheet. Okay, because we haven't done word sums yet. But you are going to have to do them tomorrow. So don't cut this off or throw it away. You are just not doing it yet. Okay, so maybe on your page, next to those first questions, put an A. That is section A. And then for section B, you just put a B. All right, and you guys are doing section B for tomorrow. Not all of them, actually. I would like you to do a selected number of questions here. Let's do number 4. And then number 6, just to remind ourselves of what happens when you have that fraction situation there. Number 10, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, so there are 6 equations that you're going to solve for me for tomorrow. Please keep going on that now. You don't have a lot of time, but you can definitely do at least the first one possibly the first two, maybe even more. So guys, is everyone clear with what you're doing? Just make sure they, if you want to do all of them around time, that's good. It'll give you more practice. Wait, wait.